Episode 5, Wedding Night. The media couldn't afford to get on the wrong side of Kaleidoscope Entertainment, even though they didn't understand why Eric Roberts' company would be helping Emma. Even Lisa didn't understand why their plan had run so smoothly. She'd expected it to take at least a few days. "Emma, tell me, are you getting support from another company?" "No," Emma replied as she glanced at the man beside her. "There is someone who's been helping me behind the scenes, but I can't reveal who he is yet." "Okay, we'll talk about it later. Just the thought of Nathan's distraught face is enough to keep me going for now." Lisa assumed Emma was getting help from her family. Like everyone else, she had no idea that Emma had, in fact, suddenly become the wife of Eric Roberts, the king of entertainment. "Are you trying to use this opportunity to leave Global?" Eric asked once he and Emma had sat down to dinner at a classy hotel restaurant. "No, that would be letting them off too easy. I'm gonna tear them down," she said with relish. "Plus, I've decided to properly get back to modeling. I'm not as well known in the industry as I used to be, so Global may still be of some use." "You're thinking like this right now because you're angry. What if one day you don't hate Nathan anymore?" "I've made my decision, and I won't regret it, let alone turn back," Emma said firmly. When she was in love, she would love with all her heart. When she hated someone, she wanted to tear them apart with her bare hands. On top of everything else, Emma was angry that Nathan hadn't even called to check in on her. Instead, he'd just gone ahead and released news that could easily ruin her. There was no way she was going to let him hurt her again. Eric remained silent, but he was very intrigued by his new wife. Emma wasn't stupid. In fact, she was very smart. She knew she couldn't hide anything from Eric, so she decided to reveal everything to him. Good or bad, there was no holding back. All that existed was trust. Eric said, "I've asked my assistant to arrange a room in this hotel. Tonight, we'll stay here. My house is no fun." Emma's ears flushed red as she nodded. "That's up to you." Meanwhile, Nathan was calling everyone he knew, trying to smooth things over with the media and his business partners. That, coupled with the news of Amber's pregnancy, was enough to drive any thought of Emma's well-being from his mind. After a romantic dinner, Eric took Emma's hand and led her to the hotel's penthouse. She was shocked to see that it wasn't just a regular penthouse. It was the wedding suite. Even under such hectic conditions, he'd somehow managed to have this arranged. She couldn't help but feel touched by his consideration. She was still nervous, though, and Eric could sense it. He took off his suit jacket as he turned to her and said, "I'll have a shower first, so you can have some time to make a decision. There's no pressure. If you're not sure, we can put off any official wedding night activities until another time, if and when you feel ready." She felt grateful for his thoughtfulness as she watched him head into the bathroom. But after all, they were already married. He was a good man, and there was no denying the attraction she felt for him. Finally making her decision, she pushed the door open and joined Eric in the bathroom. He looked at her in surprise as she stepped into the shower, fully dressed, and embraced him. "I have no regrets about marrying you." "Are you sure?" His deep voice was sexy enough to strike a chord in anyone's heart. "I'm absolutely certain." Hearing her response, Eric allowed himself to act on his feelings. With one hand, he grabbed her by the waist and pressed his lips against hers. With the other, he undid her dress, which was now soaking wet. Emma's senses were buzzing. She'd never experienced a kiss like this before. It felt so magical that she was losing control. Standing under the shower, she looked up at her husband's face. Completely mesmerized, she examined his face. She noticed the diamond-shaped mole on his earlobe and his passionate eyes that looked like they could draw her into his soul. Unable to wait any longer, Eric pulled Emma out of the shower, wrapped her in a towel, and scooped her up in his arms to carry her out to the rose petal-covered bed. He put on protection and lay down on top of her. But just as he was about to enter her, he felt an obstruction. Emma cried out in pain. Eric pulled back quickly and wrapped her in the blanket. He'd assumed, since Emma was in the entertainment industry and in a relationship with Nathan, that this couldn't possibly be her first time. But the feeling just now made him quite sure that she had never engaged in sexual activity before. "What's wrong?" Emma noticed Eric had stopped and couldn't help but lift her head up to question him, her face blushing attractively. "Let's wait for another time." He felt bad for having misunderstood her. "If I'd continued, I would have hurt you." He put on his robe and returned to the bed, trying to control his desires. He didn't want her first time to be bad. "Why didn't you tell me you had no experience?" "I didn't know how to bring it up," she responded as she huddled up against his shoulder. He rose, lifting her up and headed back to the bathroom. "Are you hurt?" Looking at the worried expression on his face, she couldn't help but let out a laugh. "You are nothing like the outside world portrays you." "What did you think I would be like?" He placed her gently into the bathtub and turned on some water. A dictator with complete control over the life and death of his entertainers. A person with no humanity. "Well, to other people, I am like that. But you're different. Since you're my wife and you're so trusting of me, I'll show you my true self. But Emma, I must warn you. To me, a lie is a lie. If you betray me, I will never forgive you." She sat up, her nose almost touching his. "What a coincidence. I feel the same way." That night, their physical relationship was only beginning, but their hearts had drawn closer together. The next morning, Emma awoke to the blinding light of the sun shining through the window. To her surprise, the spot beside her in bed was empty. She thought Eric had already left, but she found him waiting for her in the living room while flipping through some documents. "I ordered some new clothes for you. We'll leave as soon as you're ready." She nodded as she turned toward the bathroom. At that moment, her phone rang. It was Nathan. Emma looked at Eric awkwardly as he charmingly lifted one eyebrow and asked, "Do you want me to pick it up?"